everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Sorry for the delay. It always takes a second for the live video to connect. Today, I wanted to take a few minutes. I spent some time thinking about this yesterday because I talk to a lot of attorneys. I answer a lot of questions about SEO, websites, marketing, and AI at large. And one of the common trends that I'm hearing from attorneys and also seeing on LinkedIn is this trend of using AI to crawl your website and diagnose SEO issues. And there's nothing wrong with the practice of using AI to help you diagnose marketing issues, find patterns in data, and a whole host of things. But we have to be mindful of the limitations of these tools, because using AI to crawl and review a website, it probably isn't doing exactly what you think. And give me just a second. Should have popped in a cough drop before I got started, but we'll do that right now. Okay. So I'm just going to start out by clarifying, but ChatGPT and Claude and some of these other AI tools aren't built to fully crawl and do a complete SEO audit in the way you may think. It seems intuitive. We have this impression that if we give a URL to ChatGPT and ask it to evaluate the site, it's doing a complete crawl. But in fact, it's not doing a complete crawl. And many times the responses it's giving back are effectively hallucinations. Because one thing everyone should know about AI, and it's becoming more and more of a problem, people are starting to get fined over it, is that when AI doesn't have the information it needs to give a good response, it'll often invent that information. And you see this quite a lot when AI cites fake case data or fake case results. It just makes it up and presents it as factually accurate. And also, these AI tools don't have the self-awareness to check their own work. If you want AI to validate its own responses, you have to ask it some pretty direct questions and ask it to evaluate its own responses. And not in a generalized, please make sure your response is accurate kind of way, but you have to know enough to ask it specific questions like, where did you see that? What's the source? Can you provide it so I can read it? Because otherwise, AI is just going to supplement you with the information that it feels like is most likely going to answer your question or your prompt. And that's what's happening when you supply a URL to ChatGPT and Claude. You're giving it a URL, and most times the response it gives you is purely hallucinated and based on generic advice you could give any website without even reviewing it. And the biggest clue there that it's not exactly working the way a full crawl or SEO crawl should is in the time it takes to give you a response. So, I mean, you can do this now. You can minimize my video if you want. You can do this after the call. But go to ChatGPT, give it your URL, and ask it to review your entire site and find SEO issues. You could even make the prompt more elaborate than that, give it more specific instructions. Most likely it's going to give you a response within, 3 to 5 minutes if you're using a thinking version. Sometimes it'll give you a response immediately. And that should be your first clue that these tools are not performing an audit in an actual sense. Because what it takes to perform an audit is time, largely. The SEO tool that I use to crawl a website is called Screaming Frog. It's been around for many years. A license for Screaming Frog is $200 for 12 months. It's a very affordable tool. When I ask it to crawl a site, it takes time. And if the bigger the site, the longer the crawl. It could take up to 20 minutes to crawl a site, check the site against Lighthouse scores, also known as page speed insights, pull in Google Analytics data, pull in Google Search Console data. And there are a number of different APIs you can connect to Screaming Frog to enhance the reporting you get when it completes a crawl. But each of these additional layers of reporting takes more time, because whenever we're running a query on a site, what we're doing is we're running a request, and that request has to process along the same lines that AI is processing. It has to request pages from the server. It has to get those pages back. It has to analyze the information. It has to follow links and check those links in the pages they go to, analyze response codes. I have a whole list. Has to look at page titles, headings, schema markup images. It has to render the JavaScript and run the JavaScript to see if there are any issues. And it organizes all of that information into a series of reports. A Screaming Frog does all of this. Again, $200 for a 12-month license. And you could, in theory, create an AI agent that does all of this stuff, but you would be spending a considerable amount of time. It would not be a simple AI agent to complete all of these niche crawls and reports. And even when you did, like, even if you were to create an AI agent that can give you this level of detailed reporting, you know, we're still limited by the laws of physics and just how fast we can send signals back and forth to servers. And it's not instantaneous. And AI uses those same fiber optic cables as Screaming Frog does. And the biggest clue that I've seen, and I've already mentioned this, but when you plug in a URL to ChatGPT and it immediately gives you a response, that should be your biggest tell. It really hasn't processed the data of your site. And so if that's how you're doing an SEO audit, you know, give yourself, you know, you might want to walk some of that decision making back, because you probably weren't given an analysis based on your real information. And so I'm going to give you a few ways to actually use AI to diagnose your website, improve upon some SEO issues, and a bunch of different things. I just want to start by saying, like, let's keep in mind that SEO is a big money game. We're competing with big regional law firms, and now law firms being acquired by private equity with that marketing budget. And they can spend $10, $12, $15, $20,000 a month on SEO. And even if they're not, a lot of these firms are bringing in their own in-house experts, which sometimes can cost more than the SEO contract does. And so you're either creating in-house expertise for SEO at that level, or you're outsourcing it to a vendor. You're not necessarily, those big firms aren't trying to DIY their own SEO. They have experts who are using AI tools to enhance their presence in Google. And more than that, they have big budgets to back it up, right? So, like, let's be mindful of what we want to achieve with our website and our content. We may not be able to play that big game if we are doing DIY analysis and repair of our site, but we can meaningfully make movement in the right direction, and we can capture traffic and search intent for keywords that are niche, broad alike. You know, there's still a lot of value in doing good SEO and website development, and that just simply shouldn't be ignored, even if, you know, the returns on SEO might broadly be overstated in the legal industry. First thing that you're going to want to do using AI to evaluate your website is find your content gaps and also your duplicate content. One of the most important things that anyone can do when they're auditing their site is export a list of their current pages using a spreadsheet. I like to use spreadsheets. It's easier for me to see and understand the data. But to have a full list of pages, you immediately know what content you already have that you don't need to recreate. And you can use the content list to find those gaps, right? And so one thing I like to do with AI is to create either a custom agent or a project file or some sort of specific skill for a specific project. It varies depending on like what AI tool you're using. I'm using ChatGPT. I know Claude is all the rage. I'm sure I'll get more experience with that as time goes on. But in ChatGPT, what we do, we create projects, right? That's one of my favorite tools to leverage in that LLM. And we can create a project and upload files for that project. So when we ask questions about the project, we can build it upon the information that's already available. And so we're preventing that kind of hallucination where with ChatGPT doesn't have enough information or Claude doesn't have enough information. It'll just supply you with a plausible reply, right? So we can upload our files and give it concrete data to start an analysis with. And starting with all of your page content, uploading it to that project, and then asking, where are the gaps in content? Now, naturally, and this is where we're going to talk about how to be effective with prompts. Because broadly what I'm seeing is people are being too generic with the wording of their prompts. And it's not strictly about word count. The longer the prompt doesn't equal, the better. And in fact, sometimes you can accidentally create a long prompt that gives conflicting information about what to do. I've seen that as well. So instead, you want to be very specific about what you want the AI to analyze, what the goals are, and what your expected outcome is going to be. Because if you give AI a spreadsheet and say, where are the content gaps, it's going to find a ton of gaps in your content. If you're a personal injury attorney and you tell it you're a personal injury attorney, you ask it to find the content gaps, it's going to find the articles that you probably don't want to write, right? It's probably going to find like, how much can a car accident settle, or can I get a lawyer to work pro bono, or all of the super common search queries that attorneys like to ignore because they don't serve our business goals. I'm not knocking anybody. That's just the facts. We don't cater to the pro bono keywords because somebody looking for a pro bono attorney probably isn't going to be a good client for us. So let's just face facts. So if you don't give the AI tool those constraints, it's going to find opportunities that won't necessarily serve your bottom line, which, by the way, has been the problem with AI tool or SEO tools and keyword suggestion tools in the law firm industry for a long time, right? The keyword suggestions that are the most popular are usually the ones you don't want to write for. So give it constraints. You need to make sure the AI tool knows what your website business goals are, which are to attract leads within your niche and to convert them into clients. And converting them into clients within the context of our website means two specific things. And again, specificity within our prompts is really important. Because with our website, if you tell ChatGPT, we want more clients, it doesn't really know. And nobody really knows. Nobody really knows like the proper headline configuration that converts more clients. And if anyone did, it would be these big, huge national regional firms. And let's just assume they have it figured out, go to their websites, copy what they put, if that's what you want, right? But really, the exact wording to get more clients, that's something we'll probably never know. I mean, maybe, but something we definitely don't know right now. And it's something that AI doesn't know. There's no internet document out there that AI has crawled. No law firm gave OpenAI or Claude their proprietary marketing data when these agents or these LLMs were being trained. So it just doesn't know even if that information existed, right? And so unless you give it the proper constraints and say, this is the content we have on our website, we want to write about content that serves our business goals and ultimately gets us clients. We get clients when people visit our website and they call and fill out a form. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Those are the two ways you actually generate clients from a website. And if you don't specify that, you're going to get a lot of feedback that doesn't necessarily apply to law firms and that particular type of business goal. So download a spreadsheet of your content, upload it to whatever AI tool you're using, give it context, give it specific prompts, not wordy prompts, specific, tightly focused ones, and then ask it to help you find opportunities, and also ask it to help you find the duplicate content. One thing that's a big problem that people don't really pay enough attention to is duplicate content or competition within our website for similar keywords. So if you have we got to think of a city, Austin, Texas, bicycle accident practice area page. You have a practice area page dedicated to Austin bicycle accidents. Let's say that's what you're doing right now. And you publish a blog the blog is titled Top 10 Things You Need to Know About Austin Bicycle Accidents, right? The blog page is at risk of cannibalizing or taking away the traffic from this page by ranking better than the practice area page. And we want the practice area pages to rank better than our blog pages. That's what we want. And the practice area pages are top level, high authority pages that we should all be focused on building and supporting. So if you have a bunch of blog content on that same topic, on that same location, it doesn't necessarily help the practice area page. It hurts it by competing for that same traffic. And so if you have a list of all the pages you have on the site, ChatGPT or any LLM tool can help you figure out ways to consolidate that into a more tightly focused set of pages. Second way you can use AI to properly do a site audit and get some meaningful feedback about is help you prioritize issues. Because there are many well-run websites with huge SEO issues. Here on Substack, if you go back to February, you'll see I did an article on Morgan & Morgan's content and website design. And I think even before that was the second article I did on Morgan & Morgan's website. The first one, I go into their issues list as reported by Screaming Frog. And looking over that issues list, I'm just remembering it, there were problems with the Morgan & Morgan site. Problems that if they were just a normal law firm getting pitched by a normal SEO company, that SEO company would say, oh, you got some big issues here, and here. Your current SEO or your current SEO or marketing team aren't doing the right things. You know, they would use it as a selling point to get Morgan & Morgan to sign. Those are the kind of issues we're talking about. Yet Morgan & Morgan has no issues ranking in Google and no issues showing up in the map pack, but they still have these little small technical issues. And even going outside the legal industry, pick any huge website, pick Facebook. Facebook has coding issues with their website. They have glitches like every site does. And one of the, I'm not going to call it tricks, but one of the important things in practicing SEO or practicing marketing is understanding the difference between what's important to work on and invest your time and money into, and what's just filling somebody's plate, what's just populating a task list with busy work. And a lot of SEO issues I see reported in audits or in these ChatGPT audits are just not worth fixing. Adding one extra backlink to, or one extra internal link to a page isn't going to make any difference. The way most websites are set up, they're naturally going to have a broad network of internal links, unless you just hired somebody who just graduated college and it's their first website ever. Like most good web development companies are going to naturally build you a site that has internal links. And it's not even something they'll think about or have to discuss with you. It'll just be part of the site build out. It's one of the things that I look at to determine if a site is well built or not, is how well it naturally inserts these internal links, not necessarily in the content, but in the sidebar, in the menu, and the footer. All of those are internal links, not necessarily in page links or within the blog, but they count for SEO purposes. So I'm commonly seeing this SEO feedback with add more internal links. And it's like, there are 20 internal links on that page already. What's one more going to do? So give it your SEO issues list, even if AI generates it initially, and ask it a laser focused question. And also keep in mind, even Screaming Frog will give me false positives. If I see an issue reported in Screaming Frog, before I take it to the law firm owner, I take the extra step of making sure it's really real. And if you use Google Search Console, or your owner gets email notifications for Google Search Console, you already know exactly what I'm talking about when I say false positives, because Google Search Console, the tool, will automatically notify you if Google detects some sort of crawl issue or indexing issue or redirect issue. You already get, most likely, unless you're not using Google Search Console, you already get emails of these SEO issues that an audit would normally diagnose. Not all of those are worth fixing. And I get forwarded those emails by attorneys all the time. Hey, Tiffany, will you take a look at this? Do we need to do something about it? Most, like 90% of the time, no, we don't need to do anything about it. That page is de-indexed on purpose. Or, yeah, we replaced this page with a new one. Or Google didn't crawl it this time, but there's actually no issue on the site. Sometimes that happens. Again, we're dealing with sending signals back and forth from one server to another. A 2-second outage affects the crawl results. And we got to keep that in mind, because that affects ChatGPT too, or LLMs too. I got to quit saying ChatGPT. So give whatever issue list you have, whatever punch list an SEO company sent you in a proposal to help prove to you how badly you need to hire them, any kind of Screaming Frog or other similar tool, that kind of audit, give the issue list to ChatGPT with the context of all of the pages on your site. This is why I like working in projects, so we can go back and reference old documents and keep chats of a similar project nature together. So, that's one really good way to use these LLMs, kind of siloing your projects. So with the context of everything on your site, have it tell you like which of these issues are worth dedicating your time and your team's attention to fixing, and which you can live with. And really, I don't know of many other than just blatantly having your site not indexed or de-indexed on purpose. I can't think of many technical SEO issues that can't be overcome with just a lot of brand marketing, I'm being honest. So the third way you can use AI to better audit your site is through visuals. Now, with websites are essentially a file directory that lives on a server somewhere. Think of your My Documents folder. And all of the pages, and not just the pages, but all of the files and code that actually run your site are stored in separate documents within the file directory that is your website. And with websites, what your website says and how it looks are separate files. How it looks is controlled by CSS, cascading style sheets. And this is where developers tell your website, when it loads on a browser, this is how you should look, roughly. That's what the CSS file does. And so when a machine reads that file, a machine is reading that, oh, this button is so many pixels wide, or this font is so many pixels tall, or this background is this color. The machines are reading this information, but they're not visualizing it the way that humans visualize a website with their eyeballs, right? But that's not to say they can't. One thing that I really like to do with ChatGPT, and I do it often for work and for personal stuff, is to upload an image. And by the way, Google can do this too, just regular Google search. I'm into gardening. I'll just depart from talking about marketing for 2 seconds. I'm really into gardening. I got a lot of plants going on outside. I get curious. I pull a weed and I'm like, what is this? I want to know the name of it. You open up Google, use Google Lens, take a picture of it, and Google will tell you with good, pretty good degree of accuracy what the plant is. And ChatGPT does the same thing too. Google has done that for years. That feature predates AI tools, so it's old. But ChatGPT has that as well. And so you can upload photos to it and ask ChatGPT questions. I actually did that, trying to figure out if there are some ants I should worry about in the yard. I uploaded a picture of the ants, and it told me exactly what type of ant it was. And it even described the ant, which is nice. You can do the same thing with your website. Take a screenshot of your website or a mock-up or a Figma design. Upload that as a PNG or an image to your chat, your prompt. Again, it's nice if you keep all these things in a file, like a project file within these LLM tools. You can organize the projects that way and ask it to review the design and layout of your site. I'm not sure it can do it the same way just by reading the CSS file if you do manage to set up ChatGPT to crawl CSS files. So the image is the next best thing, and it's actually something you don't even need to program AI to do. You can just take a screenshot, upload the image. But like I said earlier, with AI, the longer prompts aren't necessarily better. It's the specificity. And so if you upload a screenshot of your website to AI, ask it for design feedback, it's going to give you design feedback without constraint. But with a law firm website, I'm bringing it back. Our two main goals are calls and form fills. That's what we're trying to do on a law firm site. Go to Morgan & Morgan, look at their homepage. What do you notice? Brand, phone number, form. And that's what a lot of high-performing law firm websites are set up to do. Their homepage is essentially a glorified landing page. And they're not making it entertaining. They're not trying to pull the visitor further into their site. They're not trying to make any tricks. There are no quizzes on the site unless they've added one since I've looked at it. They're just trying to get you to call and fill out a form. And that's all you should be worried about as well. Because whether or not somebody visits our site, reads a blog, that's great, but it doesn't help our bottom line. And there are a lot of curious people on the internet. And there are a lot of niche blogs, articles you can publish that'll generate a lot of views, and that's great. But at the end of the day, we want people to visit our site and call us, people to visit our site and fill out a form. And I mean, even if they're not visiting our site to do one of those two things, and I'll bring up, this is like a secret third goal of your website, but one thing that people do, let's say I've been referred to an attorney who handles car accidents, and I reach out, call them, talk to them. They send me a fee agreement. First fee agreement I've ever seen in my life. And they want me to sign it. I understand this is big and important, but I'm not going to read every word of that fee agreement. I doubt anyone has. I mean, maybe a few, but most people aren't microanalyzing it. They're probably running it through ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is telling them, the attorney is going to claim this percentage of your settlement. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do this. And so they're getting a lot. There's a lot of fear around putting that signature on the line. And if they're, unsure if they should hire you versus another firm that has maybe more reviews or maybe that they've seen on TV, they're going to visit your website to confirm their choice, right? That's what we see a lot with law firm websites. The website may not get visited, ever, by the potential client until they're ready to sign the fee agreement. And when it's time to sign the fee agreement, they're visiting the site. They want to make sure we're going to be a law firm that lives up to their expectations, that helps them, that's not going to rip them off. Again, they don't know anything about personal injury. So in their imaginations, anything could happen. They could be sued by you for all they know. And so they want to ease their concern by visiting your website and essentially like making sure the choice that they've already made to hire you is the right one. And so your website ultimately has 3 goals, I guess 2 if you condense it: live long and prosper. Calls, form fills, and to affirm somebody's choice to hire you. And when you upload an image of your site to ChatGPT, you want to give it that constraint so it doesn't just go off the rails giving you feedback. It's like, your logo should be bigger, or use this color here. A lot of times those small subjective choices don't matter as much as if your website is engineered to, what I used to say, get people where they were going. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get them to sign a fee agreement. We're trying to get them to call us. We're trying to get them to fill a form, because that's where they're going if they have a legal issue and they're visiting our site, hopefully, right? So those were my favorite 3 ways to use AI to audit your site, make design choices, make SEO choices. And it's a big decision. Your website, even if nobody uses Google to find an attorney, just pretend with me for just a second before we end this. But like, let's just imagine that nobody uses Google to find an attorney. They just stop, and that's not what people do anymore. People are still going to visit your website. So your website still has value and meaning outside of this broader SEO conversation. And so I really want to break people out of like, the website is for search engine optimization, the website is for Google. No, your website is for people. And it's the hub of your marketing. And it deserves more than just getting needled with little SEO tweaks. You really need to think about the big picture and what what responsibility your website serves, what function it serves. Thank you. I don't know who said thank you to myself, but you got to think about the bigger picture, because we're not just going after traffic from Google with our website. We're trying to convince people to hire us. And it's through that lens. I really want people to look at their site and stop, overweighting a search engine, essentially. Thank you all so much for joining with me today. I hope you learned something. Leave a comment on the video or email me if you have a question. Talk to you guys soon.